All right, I'm gonna have to call out the double standards on this Pacquiao and Crawford situation. Okay, now it all stems from the fact that, well, actually, this all initiated from uh, Manny Pacquiao, or actually his legal advisor, Michael Kantz. He had came out and said that Manny Pacquiao, his client Manny Pacquiao, will consider a fight with Terence Crawford only if he's guaranteed a $20 million for the fight. Now, this has raised a little bit of eyebrows here. Okay, now the reason why some people who are who are not so enthused about this news about Pacquiao wanting to fight Crawford unless he's getting a big purse is due to the fact that in Pacquiao's last fight, and I think this is fact here, his last fight he only got $4 million. That was against Jesse Vargas. Okay, now I'm not sure if that's actually true. Let me see if I can bring that up if this is actually true. Yeah, it is true. I actually got the purse history. Yeah, so Pacquiao got a guaranteed $4 million purse, while Vargas got 2.8 million guaranteed. So people look at that, and the pay-per-view buys was only over what, 300,000, I believe, a little bit more. And people look at that and say, well, wait a minute, your last two pay-per-views, including the one with Tim Bradley, which drew only 444,000 buys, how could you guarantee? I'm sorry, how could you ask for that amount of money given the fact that you're not drawing as much of a crowd as you did back in your heyday? So that is one argument to be made. Number one. Number two, from a Pacquiao's perspective, he's looking at this as a dangerous fight, even though Crawford fights at a lower weight class. But let's be honest, Crawford is a naturally bigger man than Manny Pacquiao. So they probably know how dangerous and how gifted and how talented, far talented a Crawford is. If they're going to consider a fight like this, especially a guy who is much bigger, as I say, he's much more powerful. He's more quicker than Pacquiao is these days. Because the Pacquiao is, I would say he's much more quicker than Crawford. But this Pacquiao of now, he's really declined. His skills has diminished. He's slowed down. He doesn't have the power like he used to. And he's dealing with a guy who has a far long reach and who can box on the back foot, and he's very, very technical. And Pacquiao tended to have issue with guys who are very technical. So, Bradley is one guy that he didn't really have much trouble with, but Crawford is much better technical fighter than Tim Bradley. But other than that, yeah, I can see where, from Pacquiao's perspective, why he's asking for amount of dollars. Now, Crawford, on the other hand, was rumored to ask for $7 million for the fight, and I seen that the Manny Pacquiao hardcores were going after Crawford for asking for that amount of dollars, given his last pay-per-view performance against Victor Postol, and they felt the way he fought, which is very negative in that pretty much an entire fight, doesn't warrant a shot at Pacquiao for one, and number two, that it doesn't warrant you to ask for that amount of dollars. Well, Crawford came out and said that he never asked for such a demand. He never demanded that type of money, and Bob Arum has even vouched for him and said that we never even talked to Terence's team, talked to Terence or his team to discuss, the amount the purse amount that they're looking for. Okay. Now, as far as the Pacquiao hardcores, they have a double standard on this situation, and let me explain why. So a few years ago, when Floyd Mayweather came back and he was fighting the likes of Victor Ortiz, Robert Guerrero's, Marcos Maidanas, DeAndre Bertos, except for a couple guys that he fit in, like Canelo Alvarez, which is a good win. I gave him credit for whatnot. But anyways, when he's fighting those guys and fighting guys who are over the hill, the Manny Pacquiao fans were criticizing Floyd for that, and rightfully so, because Floyd wouldn't defend his titles against his mandatories for a couple years. He was he was pretty much, the sanctioned bodies will allow him to get away with that, and allow him to choose his opponents and defend his titles. So to me, I felt that there was some type of a little bit of a backdoor situation going on where the sanctioned bodies will allow him to fight whoever he wants to fight, as long as they pay them, As long as he paid the sanctioning body some hush money to keep things quiet. That's not what I believe. But yeah, you could call it conspiracy all you want to, but that's what I believe. Because there's no way in hell that anybody can allow a guy like Floyd Mayweather to get away with not fighting mandatories for what, 2 years. But anyways, the Floyd hardcores were criticizing him for that, and rightfully so. Rightfully so, criticizing him for that, and fighting over over the hill opposition, knowing that he could beat. But if you look at it from Manny Pacquiao's perspective, that's what Manny Pacquiao is doing. That's what Miguel Cotto is doing. They're both doing the same thing. They're following the Floyd Mayweather blueprint. They're looking at themselves like, you know what? I'm no longer in the prime of my career. They're no longer in their prime. And they're looking at it and say, look, they're saying to themselves, look, I'm no longer at the prime of my career. I've declined over the years. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to fight people who are over the hill like me, and I'm going to take on lower tier opposition like rumored to be Jeff Horn, for example. Now, Jeff Horn is a rising contender. He's a prospect, okay? But he's still got far more things to learn, and he's not proven yet. Crawford, on the other hand, is very proven at this point, okay? Yeah, he fights at a lower weight class, but the bottom line is he's fought way better opposition than Jeff Horn. Jeff Horn's greatest win on his record is against, like, what? Way over the hill Randall Bailey, a shot Randall Bailey, and Ali Funica, if you could consider that, somewhat of a significant win. Yeah, you could say that because Funica has fought some good competition during his day. But other than that, yeah, and you can see the double standard clear as dry right there, because you can't hold one fighter to the standard of being the linear champion in one division and not fight the best competition and try to find an easy way out to make the much money as possible and not apply the same standards for your other fighter like Manny Pacquiao, for example. Now, does that mean Manny Pacquiao does have the right to choose who he wants to fight? That is fine. However, he should expect to be criticized if he's choosing, lower tier opposition like Jeff Horn, for example, or guys who are like limited like Jesse Vargas. So he should be criticized for that. Just like how you guys, the Manny Pacquiao fans, criticize Floyd for doing. So again, it's a double standard. You can't have it both ways, as I always said. Okay? Now, all I gotta say is that if Manny fights Jeff Horn, so be it. That's what he wants to do, great. But then again, it won't be an all-time great win. It doesn't really mean much because Pacquiao has so many all-time great wins, it doesn't really matter at this point. I think he's, I have to repeat myself, he's following the Floyd Mayweather blueprint. He's going to find the easiest opposition as possible, make the most money out of it, and then just say, you know what, that's it for me. And obviously, I think he's doing this just to get out of some debt, because I know Pacquiao has been involved, has some financial issues going on. So obviously he's doing this just to get out of debt, I believe. Unless anyone have more information on that, please share that in the comment section below. But so that's just my take on it. Let me know what your thoughts are on this potential matchup with Manny Pacquiao versus Jeff Horn. And what are your thoughts on him asking for $20 million to fight Terence Crawford? Do you think that's being very excessive? Or do you think it's being reasonable for Manny Pacquiao to ask for that type of money? And let me know what your thoughts are. Care to comment, share, subscribe, and be respectful, please. Signing off. Peace.